And we're live, Klein Fantasy Football, and we're doing our Week 10 preview. Let's get it going. Make sure our YouTube's linked up. Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Yes, perfect. Let's go. And refresh the page. Sweet, let's do this. So, first matchup in Week 10 is All Madden 2.0 versus the Horses. We've got two teams that are 3-6, looking for a win, trying to keep their playoff hopes
Battery,
alive.
60%.
Looks like Topher's first in the chat. So here we go. This matchup, we've got a struggling quarterbackless, starting rookie quarterbacks all over the place, all Madden team, versus one of the stronger quarterbacks teams, the Horses, who is without Patrick Mahomes this week because he's on a bye. So Ryan's starting Kenny Pickett in his Superflex versus the newcomer, Will Levis, who looked good in his first outing, kind of regressed back in his second one. We'll see how his matchup at Tampa Bay goes. CJ Stroud just blew up Tampa Bay for 5 touchdowns. Can Will Levis do the same? We'll find out. But back to the top. Looks like a pretty solid matchup. The quarterbacks, I think, is going to go a slight edge to the Horses with Joe Burrow, a little bit more consistent. We've already seen what Bryce Young can do here. Pretty weak. So, slight edge to the Horses on this one. We look at the running backs. Najee Harris has been picking up a little bit of steam lately. Kind of started slow, but doing decently as long as he can score a touchdown. Etienne's been on fire. He's killing it, coming off a bye. And on the All Madden team, we've got Bijan and Breece Hall, who could pop off any week. Breece Hall has been pretty good, but Bijan hasn't been really utilized. So I think that's going to be a push. Looks like it could be pretty close. Etienne's definitely probably the best back there. Probably pretty close to Breece Hall, but with Bijan and Najee, we'll see where that goes. It's probably touchdown dependent unless Bijan catches 5 or 6 balls. But he has been putting the work in there. On the wide receivers, we've got the Horses starting out Adam Thielen on Thursday night. And then, not the best showing, but 10 targets, you can't blame the method, the approach there. Starting Thielen, who's been a top 5 wide receiver all season. I mean, he's been insane. Who saw that coming? Flexing against James Cook, though. All Madden starting a third running back. James Cook's been pretty iffy. Let's see if Leonard Fournette gets the goal line touches that Latavius Murray's been getting. Pretty weak flex play from All Madden there. We'll see how that turns out. But going back to the wide receivers, so knowing that we've got Thielen down there, and I think Ryan also had T. Higgins out. That's the big injury that he's missing. And so he's starting Chris Godwin, been kind of up and down, but could be a shootout, like we said. That game against the Bucks that the Titans are in could be a high-scoring game. Could be good for Chris Godwin. Overall, Amon-Ra St. Brown's been really, really solid. DK Metcalf kind of been up and down with the Seahawks not scoring so many points. See how that one works out. And Ryan's in the chat. What up? Just saw that. And so, I don't know. I think it might be a push on the wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb's been really strong lately. I think him and Amon-Ra are pretty comparable. Olave has been up and down. Him and DK are kind of comparable in that range. And then Ayuk and Godwin, I'd say it's going to be a slight edge to Ayuk, but honestly, in any given game scenario, not that different, especially when we think the Bucs are going to be throwing a ton. Laporta versus Hawkinson. Hawkinson's kind of dinged up, so I think it's a slight edge to Laporta, but that's any given game scenario. I think one of those guys is going to have potential to put up a lot of points. So what it comes down to in this matchup, can Kenny Pickett put up respectable numbers? If he's putting up 9 or 10 points like Bryce Young did, then it's going to be tough for the horses to separate in this matchup. Probably lean on Laporta to have a big game. That could be it. And then when we look at the times these games are played, All Madden has James Cook on Monday night. So there's always that kind of saving grace, holding out one of your last players for the last game of the week to see if they can get you the win. Also got Breece Hall on Sunday night later tonight. So we should have All Madden, or we should have horses points kind of coming in and all figured out by the end of the second game window. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to tentatively say that based on what we can see with Bryce Young scoring 9 points, factoring that in, and then Thielen scoring 7 points, I think that's actually worse for Bryce Young. So I'll give a slight 1 point edge to horses. I'm going to say 122 to 121. Really close matchup. Fingers crossed. Okay, second matchup. We've got Donnie Kong Country, who pretty sure is in first place, 7-2. Almost certain he's the first place team. Been on a big win streak. And he's going up against Purdy Pickens. And that's another team who is struggling, trying to make that playoff spot. I think Drew's in the 6th spot right now, but it's coming down to the wire. It's going to be pretty close. Both these teams have a good starting quarterback, Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson. We also know that Michael has Jalen Hurts on bye. Looks like he's starting Kyler Murray over Aiden O'Connell. Probably a good choice there. If I'm just looking at his bench, who would I start? Maybe Myers? I don't know. Maybe not. Not with the quarterback change and the uncertainty. Yeah, you probably do just go with Kyler Murray in his first game back. That's a little bit risky. That's all I'm saying. Versus Purdy, who Purdy's been kind of up and down. Apparently, people are like down on him lately. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he could, at any given week, he could be dumping off the ball for CMC to score 2 or 3 times. So a lot of upside there. Dalton Kincaid in the flex position is a really interesting move from Purdy Pickens. It's bold. I like it. It's an interesting strategy. I think Kincaid's potentially one of the top tight end plays this week. And if you've got Kittle as well, stacked up with Purdy, it's like, who are you going to bench? Kincaid or Kittle? And you probably don't want to bench either one. So if we look at, he's got DeAndre Swift on bye, clearly, Pacheco on bye, and Nico out. That's kind of the reason for Kincaid. And then you throw up Kincaid versus Pickens or Watson. And yeah, it's like, I don't hate that start. Pickens is super inconsistent with how bad Pickett is, and Watson's pretty inconsistent with his own injuries, and Jordan Love has just not been the guy he was in the first 2 weeks, apparently. So some injuries there. Totally makes sense. But when Donnie Kong Country is starting Steph Diggs in his flex versus Dalton Kincaid, it's actually pretty interesting matchup because, I mean, you could see how it could be a Kincaid game and Diggs doesn't get doesn't get utilized a lot. So that could be something that swings in Purdy Pickens' favor. But generally, obviously, it's like Diggs is a much better flex play there. Coming to the running backs, we've got Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, who on paper you'd think would be great running backs, but both of those teams are in really bad positions. Going up against Dallas and the New York Jets, those are terrible matchups, but historically, highly utilized backs, workhorse running backs, versus a David Montgomery who's coming back from injury. We'll see what he does, what his role looks like. Are they going to split the work with him and Gibbs like they had been doing, or is it going to kind of be a different role with Gibbs getting more of the lead now? We did get to see Stevenson play in the early window and 20 carries. I mean, hey, he's still getting the work. But obviously with the Patriots, they can't score. They don't have a quarterback. There's a little bit of a struggle there, but, respectable, almost 12 points. Looking at the wide receivers, this is the weakness for Donnie Kong Country, but honestly not too bad. I know that he's kind of got some some buys, and then he's also got Diggs in his flex. So taking that into account, Pittman, Kirk, and Sutton's decent, pretty solid. I worry a little bit about Sutton, but getting a player in on Monday night against the Buffalo Bills and their kind of weaker, aging secondary could be good. Garrett Wilson played tonight for Purdy Pickens. Got Calvin Ridley and Jahan Dotson. I think those are solid plays. And it's interesting that, we've got Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley versus the 49ers. So we'll see how that one plays out. I think, you could have one of those guys put up a ton of numbers and the other one do very little, or they could both go off. So I think that could be a slight edge right now to Christian Kirk, although pretty sure they're coming off a bye, so anything could be in the game plan. We look at their tight end. We talked about Purdy Pickens' tight end situation. He's starting to, very bold move. Reminds me of 2022 all Madden techniques, and you see how that worked out. Not so well. And you've got Taysom Hill, who's perennially underappreciated, one of the top tight ends / whatever weapon plays he is. I think he's a good start. He's been putting up numbers. They're utilizing him a lot. The Saints are doing some weird things. So with the buys, with Kyler Murray coming back, this is a really close matchup. The projections aren't leaning in Purdy Pickens' favor, but I think there's a lot of crossover with the players starting here. Got the Jaguars, got the 49ers. Overall, I think I'm going to go with Donkey Kong Country simply on the fact that he's got Lamar Jackson, and I think that might be able to carry him. Lamar Jackson could have a big game. We'll see what the Detroit Chargers game ends up being. It could be a really high-scoring game too. And Cleveland could be the defense that really hands it to Lamar. I forget how he did against them in their first matchup. Actually, let's look into that. Last time he played, he put up 28 fantasy points against Cleveland in Cleveland with 2 rushing touchdowns, of course. So, could we have a repeat of that? Maybe. I think it's a decently hard matchup, but one that he's proven he can score against. So slight edge Donkey Kong Country. I'm going to call this one 133 to 125. So that's Donkey Kong by 8. Next matchup, Dino Dan's Dynamite Dinos versus Miss Murderers. And we've got 2 of our top teams matching up. Miss Murderers, who are in second place, and the Dino Dan's Dynamite Dinos in third place. So this is for playoff seeding for sure. Need more Taysom hype. Yeah, Taysom hype's there. Is this Hassan? Oh, God. Oh, so it looks like we've got a few viewers in the chat. Before we get into Dino Dan's Dynamite Dinos versus Miss Murderers, we've triggered the Take a Shot challenge because we've got enough viewers now. It's worth it. Didn't want to do this too early. Pour a nice little shot there of our Tito's. All right, week 10. Cheers, boys. Oof. Oh. Oh. All righty. Get a little ASMR right in there. A drink pour. Cheers. Refreshing iced coffee with some vodka. Here we go. The T-Rexurance versus where's the giveaway? The giveaway. All right. We're going to everyone pick a number. Hold on to the number. We're going to do a random number generator. Let's see if we can get this on the random number generator. Okay. From 1 to 10. Let me see if I can get this on the screen, on the stream. Add a screen. Share screen. Found it. Random number generator on Google. Share that. turn it on. Let me turn off. There we go. All right. We're going to generate a random number from 1 to 10. I need everyone to pick a number. Okay, and then type your number into the chat now. And the first number that you put, whoever types it in there first gets it. And if someone else types it, you have to pick a different number. Where's the giveaway? I love that you can see Zach's picture in there. It's like his work picture because it's like his Gmail or something. It's my Google account picture too. Let's go. Let's go. You guys are lagging behind. Ryan got 7. I'm looking at my own stream. I'm like a minute ahead. Donnie gets 8. Let's go. Let's go. Zach gets 4. 7, 8, 4. I don't know if Topher's still here. He was the first. There's somewhere I can see how many people are watching. 6 people watching, apparently. So there might be some randos in here. If you're random, you can also be a part of the giveaway. Don't laugh. I think it's a good photo. Oh, is the food here?
Yeah.
Sweet. Brunch is here. Topher gets 3. Okay. I was hoping Dino Dan would be here for his team preview, and who's he going up against? He's going up against Miss Murders. Justin's definitely not awake yet. You can see the last time he logged in. Why is that message pinned? Unpin it. I have no idea. 3. Topher gets 3. Stream is blowing up. All right, we've got it all. Everyone's in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Generate. It's 5. Nobody wins. I'll do it again. 3, 2, 1. 10. Nobody wins. We'll do one more time for the giveaway. And then we'll figure out what we're giving away. 5, 3, 2, 1. 4. Zach wins. We've got our winner. All right, so next time I see Zach, he wins the giveaway. He wins a kiss. And we're back. Brunch is going to get cold and long analysis to get through. I know. This is taking a while. So some deep, thorough analysis. It's all right. Brunch will be fine. Just in time for the game. The noon game starts. We've got, in this matchup, back to the top, Miss Murderers has been getting away with murder. I'll say it because they've got a pretty low average weekly point total, but has been at the top of the league standings pretty much the whole time. So I think now with McCaffrey off a bye, Kamara's been blowing up. Keenan Allen has a fine hamstring. The Dynamite Dinos is not the team you want to face this time of the year. I'll tell you from experience last week, it was a really hard matchup. Put up some solid numbers and still got destroyed by the Dinos. So I don't think the outlook is strong for the Miss Murderers based on the fact they also seem to have 14 points. Yeah, there it is, from Jonathan Taylor. Actually, not terrible. I mean, 14 points from JT. You'd hope he'd maybe have a little bit more efficiency in the run game. He did get the score, didn't really catch a lot. That's not going to be enough to overcome what CMC's about to do in Jacksonville and probably what Kamara is about to do in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So slight edge actually a huge edge in the running backs for the Dinos. I'm not sure about Javonte and his play. Jaleel McLaughlin's been pretty cool as a rookie coming in and getting some touches. So, and then you got Jerry Jeudy, who's been really up and down. According to Steve Smith, is just a guy, doesn't have it. Maybe that fuels him to go off, but we'll see. And then as far as the receivers, Amari Cooper is real solid. Romeo Doubs, I think he's actually pretty solid. I don't know what he's been doing recently, though, with how poorly Love has been doing. Great pin message. Mac Bones Jones, baby. That's not what I saw yesterday. Jayhawks are back. Ooh, Jayhawks, yikes. Okay, so Dobbs lately, He's fine. He's a decent play, honestly. But Hopkins has been hot. Or has he? How did he do last week? Yeah, he's caught another touchdown. No, didn't catch another touchdown, but had a lot of targets. McLaurin in that high volume passing offense, Keenan Allen, like I said, slight edge or a good edge there for the wide receivers as well. We look at the tight ends. Cade Otton, I think it's a really savvy pickup, a player I've been thinking about picking up for a couple weeks versus Dalton Schultz, who's been going off. Nico Collins is out. Steve should never apologize. He was right. Yeah, I agree, Ryan. I think Steve Smith can do no wrong. I think he's one of the most honest guys out there in sports media who's both a player and kind of like a thought leader. We've all seen the Cooper Cup video where Podfather calls Steve Smith an idiot, and then, Steve Smith reveals that he's a genius. So, anyways, back to what is going on this week? What is going on? Dino Dan, what the hell are you doing? You started a Thursday night tight end in your flex spot. Get out of here. If you are doing so well with your McCaffrey and Kamara, this is a punishable offense. Like, you don't start a tight end in your flex who is also playing on Thursday. It's just you're kneecapping yourself. It's like, I get that you've got guys on bye. Your bench kind of sucks. You got Miles Sanders who sucks. AJ Brown's on a bye. I get it, but you can't be starting Cole Kmet in your flex spot on Thursdays. At least put him in the tight end spot and flex out Dalton Schultz on Sunday. It's just wild to me. But who am I to talk? This is the Velocidactor team, who's also got AJ Brownosaurus, and so he knows what he's doing. He's probably my favorite right now. I wish I was high on volume. Wish I was high on pot news. So anyways, long story short, Dino Dan's got this one wrapped up. I mean, the projections say it all. Miss Murders, I don't know if this is your week, but let's see. He could surprise us. We could have Jerry Jeudy pop off for once, like he did in week 17 or 18 last season. I'm going to call it Dino Dan 145, Miss Murderers 90. That's a lot. That's a big spread. That's a 55-point spread if anybody wants to take that spread. Okay, picking up some momentum. We've got the Jayhawks. Also, we've got, looks like 5 people in the chat. Here we go. Just bad process. Yeah, taking him. You guys are about a minute behind lagging in the chat, so I'm trying to make sure I come back to the chat and catch up. He was in the hospital, to be fair. Oh, my God. Yeah, he might have been on those days. But when our group start being fair. Yeah, good point, Zach. Well, who might have judged the Dino Dans? They're pretty much, if I had to pick a team besides, we've got the Donnie Comp Country, who's been just running riot through the league. But if I had to pick a team that's my favorite for the playoffs to win it all, it's honestly Dino Dan's. When you've got AJ Brown and you've got CMC, you love it. And then Kamara comes back. He's only suspended 3 games. Somehow we all thought he would suck, but no, Kamara is the best running back in the league. So that's our fault for letting him go for like $8 in auction. The Jayhawks, who got wrecked yesterday, versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. I like the name change. I like that Papa Giorgio is trying to change it up, get his players motivated, and also wants to get his guys to help him out. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Geno Smith, what a letdown, man. I thought, honestly, Geno Smith, has he been doing as bad as everyone has said? Yeah, sadly he has. When you look what's happened since week 5, he hasn't put up more than 13, 14 fantasy points. So something's going on there. The interceptions he didn't have last season. He's not rushing as much as he was last season. He was averaging about 24 rushing yards per game last season, and Geno's, -3 rushing yards 2 games ago. So big issues there. Guys, brain turns off for a couple of days. Oh, God. Okay, so Deshaun Watson, though, equally bad. Let's see. Since week 5, Deshaun Watson has had one good outing, and it was against Arizona. F in the chat for Gino. I know, I was higher on Gino. I've got a lot of exposure in best ball. Sadly, he has been rough. Love you, Gino. Yeah, Gino sucks. Okay, but we know Deshaun Watson sucks. Gino sucks. Bad quarterback matchup here. We've got, honestly, decent running backs. Eckler and King Henry, who, where the fuck did he start? Cole Kmet is flex. Love you, Gino. F. Where is that coming from? I don't know. Bad process. F. Okay, back to the matchup. You know, Rachaad White, I have to say, he's been on fire the last 3 weeks. The RB1 last week. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in the game. Caught him up a little bit. If anyone remembers, I don't even know if Ryan remembers. I barely remember. Ryan and I have a board bet between Rachaad White and Isaiah Pacheco, and the conditions are both players have to at least play 14 healthy games, and it's whoever scores the most total touchdowns. And so Ryan picked Rachaad White. I picked Isaiah Pacheco. Rachaad White had 1 touchdown going into last week. He's now got 3 total touchdowns. Isaiah Pacheco has 4 and hasn't scored a touchdown in maybe 3 weeks. So it's pretty close. Isaiah Pacheco has a slight lead. It was a 4-1 lead. It's now a 4-3 lead. And we will continue to follow that board bet throughout the rest of the season. It's a pretty fun one. So I have to hand it there because I've been very anti-Rachaad White all offseason, but he is surprising me. Ken Walker, on the other hand, is starting to deteriorate a little bit. Ryan forgot about this. It's probably the edible that did him in, but it was a long night, draft night. Low-key great battle. Yeah, Ken Walker's been deteriorating a little bit. I don't know if it's the Charbonnet snaps increasing. I would like that. I think Charbonnet is my most owned player in best ball during the offseason, but more on that later. Anyways, back to the matchup. King Henry, has he been his regular self? Not extremely dominant in the last couple weeks, but he's got the rushing yards. It's really just the touchdowns. And I think that comes back against Tampa Bay. I feel like he could have a 2-touchdown game. Give a slight edge to the running backs on Obi-Wan Kenobi's, although big respect to Rachaad White, Ken Walker. We look at the flex real quick. Aaron Jones as well, I think, is a good play. He's starting to become the focal point of that offense. Joe Mixon, likewise, a good play, focal point of that offense. Slight edge there to Mixon. So I'm going to give the slight edge for the running backs to Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're going to the wide receivers. We've got 10 minutes to kick off. Ryan says it was definitely edible. Pinned message. No idea how to get that to go away, so it's going to stay. But wide receivers, Drake London, I think he did all right last week. I mean, he's still getting some targets. But it's a tough situation with the quarterback change, what's going on. Mike Evans has been solid. Was he solid against the Texans, though? No, I mean, he's fine. He just needed that touchdown to really put him over the edge. Marquise Brown, I have no idea what he's been doing lately. He seems like he's still getting the work, though. So with Kyler back, that could be a great play. Definitely. Yeah. Ryan's on to me. My fentanyl lacing of everyone with the draft so I could draft the best team is exactly what happened. So here's an interesting play that I hate. It's Jameson Williams. Topher's been known to be tanking in many other dynasty leagues, and it seems like he's trying to tank his regular season by starting Jameson Williams here. Shout out to that. And on a personal note, Jameson Williams has been a complete disaster for any team I've ever drafted him on. So good luck. I see that he can score on a 50-yard bomb, but good luck with that start. When it comes to the tight ends, these are both pretty weak tight ends. Hunter Henry didn't have a great game. He had one catch at the end of the game there that almost helped them get into position in the fourth quarter, but overall hasn't been a stud really since earlier in the season. And Logan Thomas has been really consistently involved, at least, although not scoring every week, but he's kind of one of those options, I think. And although he had one really bad performance against Atlanta since week 5, I think Logan Thomas is a decent starter. He's probably a tight end 1. He's probably a top 12 option, so no hate there. There's some buys. And then here we see Topher's previous comment on starting Mac Daddy Jones, who ended up getting benched in this game, throwing no touchdowns and having an interception. That's not going to work. That's not going to look good. And then we've got Calvin and Dobbs. This is Dobbs' team now. So when we talk about Josh Dobbs, he's a rocket scientist, and he can't even buy his own jersey in the team store, but he can win. So I give a slight edge to the quarterbacks for Dobbs. And then looking at their bench, what else would I start? Yeah, Foreman. It's hard to start Foreman when you've got really deep running backs like Mixon and Henry and Eckler. I skipped right over Jordan Addison and Devontae Adams. So I think, honestly, Papa Giorgio has the edge in quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. Probably tight end is where Topher's got a shot, but I got to think this is a get-right game for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Keep any chance of the playoffs alive, even though he's already got that 7th loss. This league always comes down to the wire. It always comes down to the last week, and someone could slip into the playoffs. Could be Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think he wins this week and he gets right. Beats the Jayhawks. I'm going to call it 122 for Obi-Wan Kenobi to 98 for the Jayhawks. And our ultimate matchup for the week, our last matchup, it's the Houston Maynards versus the Stroud Boys. And what started off as a joke, the Stroud Boys, is now a pretty strong statement because CJ Stroud was the QB1 last week, put up 5 touchdowns, almost 500 passing yards. Did it without really much rushing side on the ball. And so why he's starting Jameson Williams. Yeah, I have no idea. Let's go back. That's a good question from the chat. We had a quick detour. Go back to the Jayhawks. He's starting Jameson Williams in his wide receiver 3 when he could be starting he has Charbonnet and Walker. That's no good. He could be starting Cedric Tillman. Honestly, I would start Noah Brown. I think Noah Brown is way better than Jameson Williams in this current week-to-week matchup. Noah Brown's borderline top 36, play this week. I'd say top 30 play. Although Robert Woods is technically playing, he's going to be on a snap count. So with Smith and Waddle out, it's not too late to change your roster, Toph, if you're still in the chat. But up to you. I think Noah Brown's a solid play. Back to the matchup, the last matchup of the week. And we've got Sam Howell, who has been passing a ton, high volume passing attack, doesn't always put up the most points in fantasy, but a little bit of that rushing upside. Those are sacks. That was a touchdown. So, they're a 30-point outing 2 weeks ago against Philadelphia. It's pretty impressive. Against Seattle this week, I could see this being a higher scoring game, a shootout. I'm not big on Sam Howell, but I think this is a good spot for him. He could put up some nice numbers. And unfortunately, Gardner Minshew, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, -1 rushing yards. Not going to do it for you there. So that's kind of tough. That's a clear advantage to Houston Maynards off the bat. Let's go look at the QB2s. We know we got Stroud, and then we've got Josh Allen. So I'm going to call that a push or even a slight edge to Josh Allen. So running back up to the running backs, we've got the Maynards with Jahmyr Gibbs and Chuba Hubbard versus Gus Edwards and Tony Pollard. I think I have to give it to Gus Edwards, Tony Pollard's side. Pollard's been kind of a disappointment as a first-round pick or a second-round pick, but Gus Edwards has been hot lately. The Ravens are just running the ball like crazy. We got 3 minutes to kick off, so I'm going to finish this one up, and we'll get it started. But yeah, the Gus bus can't be stopped. What Gibbs is going to do, he's been really, really hot the last 2 weeks before the bye. How this changes, the touches change with Montgomery back. We just don't know. So it has to be a slight edge there for Gus Bus. Really solid over the last 3 weeks. And Pollard, what's the matchup looking like this week against the Giants? I think this is his get right game. His touches have been trending down, and I know that Rico Dowdle has been getting some like red zone touches. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's a chance for them though to get Pollard more involved against a really weak New York Giants team. Slight edge, or I could look at with Hubbard only putting up 5 points, give an edge there to the Stroud boys. For the wide receivers, we got Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and Deebo Samuel. That's kind of an eclectic group. I really like Jamar Chase. Hopefully, Deebo, coming back works out. He's been pretty fast start to the season, but then slowed down lately and had some issues getting back on the field. Tank Dell was he the wide receiver 1 last week? Wild. A guy we've loved all off season. He's really shining out. It's a great pickup by the Maynards there. Lockett's hopefully gonna kind of maintain his utilization and maybe get a touchdown this week is what they got to be thinking. Same with Deontay Johnson, who scored a touchdown a few weeks ago, or I know that was last week. Yeah, scored the touchdown last week. And can he keep the momentum going? So I think even with Jamar Chase, it's pretty close here for the wide receiver matchup. You got to realize our buys here. And Justin Fields is out. We've got Puka Nacua on a bye. That's probably who I was looking for Zach's team. And for Joel's team, he's missing out on Tyreek Hill, of course, which is definitely a guy he'd like to have. So if you're going to play the team with Tyreek Hill, play when they're on a bye. That's definitely an edge there. I'm going to say it's kind of push for wide receivers. There might be a higher ceiling, which of our Chase and Deebo, and but potential. And actually, I think Tank Dell's a ceiling play too. But Lockett and Deontay Johnson should be a solid floor play. Tyler Boyd's all over the place. I know Higgins isn't playing, but doesn't really. We'll see if that means that Boyd gets a lot of utilization. We got 2 minutes to go. Over to the flex. I'm not a Madison guy. Apparently, he's been doing better lately. Last game, he was heavily utilized. Last 2 games, actually. But you can see here, even when they use Madison on 17 touches in this game, he's ending up with 4 fantasy points. So there's just not really a good correlation there on his utilization to his output in fantasy. I don't love Madison. James Conner's coming back. I don't think he's done a lot this season. He's had maybe 2 really good games and some solid efficiency. With Kyler back, can he put up some numbers? And then our last quarterbacks, or let's go to the tight ends actually. We've got Mark Andrews and Ferguson. Ferguson's been pretty strong lately, and it's a good play. Mark Andrews, always a great play. Slight edge there to the Maynards. I'm going to call this one in favor of the Maynards. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 130 to 127 in favor of the Maynards. That's it. That is our Week 10 preview. Shout out to all the boys in the chat for joining. Maynards. I knew you were going to say that. I might actually watch the Texans for the first time in like 4 years today. Donaldson, come on. You're late. Jump on the wagon. The waters are warm. CJ Stroud is the truth. Tank Dell is electric. And we don't have a running game, but you don't need one. Defense is actually pretty good. They gave up a lot of points last week, but it was a fun game to watch. I think, honestly, Texans beating the Bucs was the best regular season Texans game I've seen 5 years, at least 3 years, maybe 5 years. You have to go back to playoff wins to find like a more entertaining game. You have to go back to the J.J. Watt days to find a more exciting game. So looking pretty good for the Texans, their future. And we'll see how today goes against a really fun matchup with the Bengals. Cheers, boys. Catch y'all later.